Everyone thinks Hollywood runs on talent. Actors, directors, studios, red carpets, awards. Wrong. Modern entertainment runs on control. Control of distribution, control of data, control of attention, and one company turns stories into a machine. That company is Netflix. And its real power is not streaming. It's leverage. Leverage over creators. Leverage over audiences. Leverage over time itself. Before Netflix, Hollywood decided what you watched. Studios controlled theaters, networks controlled schedules, cable packages bundled channels. You adapted to their timetable. After Netflix, the timetable adapted to you. On demand, instant, personalized. That shift looks simple. It wasn't. It was structural. Netflix didn't invent streaming, but it scaled it faster than anyone else. It made buffering unacceptable. It made binge watching normal. It made next episode automatic. And that tiny button changed behavior globally. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Content is not king. Distribution is. The company that controls distribution controls the market. Netflix understood this early. In the early 2000s, it was mailing DVDs, red envelopes, logistics, convenience. But while competitors optimized retail stores, Netflix optimized data. Who rented what? How long they kept it, what they rated highly, where they dropped off. It wasn't just shipping movies. It was studying patterns, and patterns predict behavior. Behavior predicts revenue. Revenue funds expansion. Expansion increases data. The loop began quietly. By the time broadband matured, Netflix was ready, not just technically, strategically. Instead of protecting legacy revenue, it cannibalized itself. DVD revenue funded streaming, streaming funded scale, scale funded originals. That willingness to disrupt itself was the first power move. Now here's the pivot that changed Hollywood. When studios realized streaming mattered, they pulled their catalogs, they launched competitors, Disney+, HBO Max, Peacock, Paramount+. Fragmentation exploded, but Netflix had already prepared. It invested billions in original content, not for prestige, for independence. If licensing disappeared, it needed insulation. House of Cards, Stranger Things, The Crown, Narcos, global hits. But the secret was not creativity alone. It was portfolio logic. Netflix doesn't think like a studio. It thinks like an asset allocator. Every show is an investment. Every genre is a category. Comedy, drama, reality, anime, crime, kids, international. Each segment measured, each segment tracked, each segment optimized. If something underperforms, it's cut. Quickly. Emotion doesn't decide. Data does. That discipline feels ruthless. It is. But ruthlessness protects margins. In a subscription model, retention is oxygen. If subscribers churn, revenue collapses. So every creative decision connects to retention metrics, completion rates, engagement hours, rewatch frequency, device distribution, regional adoption. That's not art school. That's systems engineering. Now zoom out. Netflix operates in over 190 countries, hundreds of millions of subscribers globally, annual revenue in the tens of billions, massive content budgets, but numbers alone don't explain dominance. Habits do. Netflix embedded itself into routines, weeknight comfort, weekend marathons, family movie nights, shared passwords, personal recommendations. When habits form, switching feels inconvenient, not impossible, just annoying, and inconvenience protects power. Here's where it gets more strategic. Netflix's algorithm doesn't just recommend, it experiments, constantly. Thumbnails change, artwork changes, descriptions change, trailers autoplay differently, the same show appears differently to different users. It's behavioral testing at scale, millions of micro-experiments running simultaneously. Hollywood used to rely on instincts, Netflix relies on A/B testing. That difference compounds, because experimentation creates feedback. Feedback creates insight. Insight reduces uncertainty. Reduced uncertainty improves capital allocation, and better capital allocation increases survival odds. Now, consider global strategy. When US growth slowed, Netflix went international aggressively. Local language productions, local actors, local writers, but global distribution. A Korean show could dominate Brazil, a Spanish series could trend in India. Infrastructure made geography irrelevant. Squid Game became a worldwide phenomenon. Not because of Hollywood marketing, because Netflix pressed one button, global release, simultaneous visibility, instant scale. That's distribution power. Traditional studios still stagger releases, country by country, window by window. Netflix releases everywhere, at once. Speed creates momentum, momentum creates conversation, conversation creates cultural gravity, and cultural gravity increases brand stickiness. Now, let's talk economics. Netflix spends billions annually on content. Critics call it reckless. But here's the financial logic. Subscription revenue is recurring. Recurring revenue is predictable. Predictability stabilizes cash flow. Stable cash flow lowers financing risk. Lower financing risk supports aggressive investment. Investment drives differentiation. Differentiation supports retention. Retention sustains recurring revenue. It's a closed loop. Financial engineering meets storytelling. But the deeper power lies elsewhere. Netflix owns the customer relationship directly. No theaters, no cable middlemen, no retail distributors. Direct billing, direct interface, direct data. That connection is strategic gold. Emails, push notifications, personalized homepages, category rows curated by behavior. The interface becomes the battlefield. If you control the homepage, you control visibility. And visibility shapes consumption. In the old Hollywood system, gatekeepers were visible. Studio executives, network schedulers. Today the gatekeeper is algorithmic, invisible, automated, scalable. If your show is not surfaced, it effectively doesn't exist. That's modern power. Quiet, mathematical, systematic. Now here's the darker layer. Algorithms favor predictability, familiar tropes, recognizable faces, proven formats. Optimization can narrow creative risk, not intentionally, structurally. When retention metrics dominate decisions, experimentation becomes measured. Risk becomes calculated, culture adapts to data, and data reshapes culture, subtly. Now compare Netflix to traditional studios. Studios depended on box office weekends, opening numbers, critical reviews, theater windows, delayed TV licensing, layered dependencies. Netflix collapsed the stack. Producer, distributor, platform, data engine, one ecosystem. Vertical integration increases speed, speed increases adaptability, adaptability increases survival. When competitors emerged, Netflix didn't freeze. It introduced ad-supported tiers, it cracked down on password sharing, it adjusted pricing, it expanded into gaming experiments. Not all experiments succeed, but experimentation itself protects relevance. Flexibility is strategic armor. Now widen the lens. Netflix competes not just with studios, it competes with sleep, with TikTok, with YouTube, with gaming, with scrolling. Attention is finite, time is limited. The real war is not for content, it's for minutes. Who owns your hour? Who owns your boredom? Who owns your curiosity at 11 p.m.? If you win that battle, you win leverage, because attention converts to revenue, and revenue fuels expansion. Now ask a harder question. What happens when one company influences global narratives, not directly, indirectly, through visibility, through funding decisions, through recommendation systems? Stories shape perception, perception shapes culture, culture shapes behavior, behavior shapes markets, markets shape politics. That chain is real, and platforms sit at the center. Netflix doesn't dictate ideology, it dictates exposure, and exposure influences relevance. That's influence without speeches. Now, look at the strategic blueprint. Step 1. Dominate distribution. Step 2. Collect behavioral data. Step 3. Use data to optimize investment. Step 4. Scale globally. Step 5. Diversify revenue streams. Each step compounds. Compounding creates resilience. Resilience creates longevity. Longevity creates dominance. Most companies chase virality. Netflix chased systems. Systems endure. Virality fades. The real lesson is structural. Power in the digital age lives at the interface. Between supply and demand. Between creators and viewers. Between content and consumption. If you own that interface, you own leverage, and leverage is durable. In the 20th century, media empires were visible. Studios, networks, executives. In the 21st century, the empire looks like a homepage. Personalized, endless, scrolling. It feels harmless, comfortable, convenient, but beneath that interface runs one of the most sophisticated attention engines ever built. Data, algorithms, retention metrics, global infrastructure, relentless iteration, not flashy, not loud, but deeply embedded. So when someone says, Netflix is just a streaming app, remember this. It's not just streaming, it's infrastructure for attention. It's a direct pipeline into daily habits. It's a global distribution system operating at digital speed. And in a world where attention is currency, the company that owns the pipeline doesn't just entertain, it influences. Quietly, globally, systematically. That's how modern power works.